This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter. I welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And this birthday boy was an icon. Yes, he was the face of linebackers for many years and spent his entire 17-year career with just one team. That's amazing. He's now 46. He sometimes looks menacing enough to still play, but this guy basically defied the odds in a sense. Yes, we're talking about Ray Lewis, cover athlete of Madden 2005, one of the best games I've ever played. Anyway, Ray Lewis was with the Ravens for all his 17-year career in the NFL. He played for the Miami Hurricanes, DU, and was an All-American. The Ravens decided to draft him in the first round of the 96 draft. This was the first draft that the Ravens would draft. They moved from Cleveland, but basically with the name the Baltimore Ravens. He was the last remaining active player from the team's inaugural season. Now, the NFL does recognize Baltimore as a quote-unquote expansion team, and the Cleveland Browns in 1999 to be a continuation of the former Cleveland Browns thing. Basically, Art Modell had to leave Cleveland's history in Cleveland if he wanted to take the team to Baltimore. So, good compromise. Ray Lewis almost had his football career end before it started because he had obstruction of justice in connecting to the stabbing deaths of two men in 2000. Despite that, he was named the next season. He was named NFL Defensive Player of the Year and helped the Ravens' record-setting defense, which only gave up 10 points a game, to victory in Super Bowl 35. He became the second linebacker to be named Super Bowl MVP, and the first was Chuck Howley in 1971, although Howley played for the Cowboys, who lost the Super Bowl to the Baltimore Colts. Lewis would win again a couple years later, the Defensive Player of the Year, becoming the sixth player to win it multiple times. Ray Lewis made a massive comeback in the 2012 season with a triceps tear that ruined him, but he managed to play in the playoffs and helped the Ravens win the 2013 Super Bowl, which would be his final NFL game. And he was named to Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2018 in his first year of eligibility. He was an icon, 13-time Pro Bowler, 10-time All-Pro, and actually one of only a handful of players to play in a Pro Bowl in 3 decades, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. One of the greatest Ravens of all time. So anyway, he overcame his small size. He was 6'1", which isn't good for a linebacker. But anyway, he decided to enroll in the University of Miami and was a starter for the final 5 games of his freshman season. He would basically have a lot of tackles and all of that. He decided to enter the NFL draft, foregoing his senior season. That was when Miami kind of collapsed in a sense. So Jamal Lewis basically was a Ravens player, but he wasn't the first. Baltimore Raven picked. That Baltimore had the 4th pick in the draft, and they went with offensive tackle Jonathan Ogden, who allegedly was so shy that he would do spelling bees with his back turned to the audience. Now, the 96 draft wasn't really that special. The Jets picked Keyshawn Johnson. Arizona took Simeon Rice. Both were decent top 3 picks. Well, Jacksonville picked Kevin Hardy from Illinois, but, he was okay. Baltimore picked Jonathan Ogden, which was a good pick. The Giants took Cedric Jones from Oklahoma. I think they said Cedric Jones was kind of blind of an eye, wasn't he? Something like that. I remember reading something like that. Allegedly, he was blind. He had bad eyesight. But the St. Louis Rams made a massive shock, taking Lawrence Phillips from Nebraska. He was a good running back, but off the field, Lawrence Phillips was pathetic. And lucky he stayed on Nebraska for a couple of national championships. New England took Terry Glenn. Okay, that's fine. Carolina took Tim Biakabutuka from Montreal. Nicely done. Oakland took Ricky Dudley. Jeez. So yeah, the linebackers weren't really picked much. Well, Kevin Hardy was picked by Jacksonville 2nd overall. John Mobley was picked 15th by the Broncos. Okay. Detroit stupidly took Reggie Brown from Texas A&M. And then Ray Lewis came in. So yeah, a lot of teams had a chance at Ray Lewis, and they flubbed it up. Some say he was a good prospect, but of course, as many people figured, that his off-field things scared a lot of teams. But he did have a good rookie season and all that in the Ravens season. But yeah, he was fan-freaking-tastic in the 2000 season. He had 137 tackles in the year, 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflections, and 3 fumble recoveries, helping the team set NFL records for fewest points allowed in a season and fewest rushing yards allowed. Pretty good. 970. That's pretty good. They got 4 shutouts, which was 1 short of the record. The Ravens crushed Denver in Define Powder 21-3 in the wildcard round. Surprised that Baltimore didn't win the division. Anyway, the divisional round against the Tennessee Titans. That can't be right because they were in the same division, weren't they? No, sorry, wait. No. My fault. Something like that. Yeah, they could meet. The Titans were the best team in the division in 2000-01, and they got shocked by the Ravens 24-10. As Lewis had a pick 6. In the AFC Championship game, he crushed Oakland in Define Powder 16-3, all by himself. And it also helped that Shannon Sharp had a 90-plus yard touchdown reception in that game. And then they shut down the New York Giants 34-7. Yes, they gave up 7 points, which is not the lowest point total by one team in Super Bowl history, but they pitched a defensive shutout as basically the Giants' only touchdown was on a special teams play, a kickoff return. So he did pretty well for himself. Unfortunately, in that 2005 season, he was on Madden 2005. As almost always, the Madden curse bit him in the butt. He was basically injured. He was good for the teams in the first 6 games, but basically he was on injured reserve, and the Ravens were below 500. Strange it was, Ray Lewis's best moment was 2012. He had to have a surgically repaired tricep, but he actually decided to retire after the 2013 playoffs. He would return for action for Baltimore's first round game against the Colts and crushed the Colts that went with Andrew Luck instead of Peyton Manning. The Ravens couldn't play another home playoff game because they were the 4 seed. They were the lowest seed left in the AFC playoffs, so basically they couldn't play a home game. Then the Ravens went into Denver, faced Peyton Manning, and basically it was one for the ages, especially the pass from Flacco to Jacoby Jones with under a minute left that shocked the Denver defenders. Ravens shocked Denver in double overtime, 38-35. And then they would face my beloved New England Patriots. And thanks a lot, they beat the Pats. Pissed off. Ray Lewis would play his final game in Super Bowl 47 against the San Francisco 49ers. I picked the Niners. I guess kind of as a way to say, fuck you, you took my team out of the playoffs. I'm not cheering for you, Baltimore. I should have seen it coming, especially with Armandell dying during the offseason in 2012. Like, it was an omen. Ray Lewis was an icon. I'll give him that. So anyway, he played 228 games in the NFL and had 31 interceptions, 3 of them for touchdowns. Anyway, there was a murder trial, and, Ray Lewis got lucky and all that. A lot of people did say that Ray Lewis really got lucky and all that. People were not happy he was Super Bowl MVP because of what happened. But however, the Super Bowl MVP usually says, I'm going to Disney World. But no, they don't like that. Because of the murder trial and all that, they decided to give Trent Dilfer the signature phrase. However, Lewis did reach a couple of out-of-court settlements and all that. All that. Lewis was one of the best middle linebackers around. And, I like him. I like him. He's pretty good and all that. Yeah. Ray Lewis, best Baltimore Raven of all time. I hate the Baltimore Ravens with all that. Anyway, Ray Lewis is a committed Christian and all that. He has 6 kids, 4 boys and 2 girls. His son, Ray Lewis III, played for Miami and then Coastal Carolina. But he did have a criminal sexual assault and all that. And he has a son who's now playing for the University of Maryland. What's that? Michael Phelps actually said that he found his life purpose and desire to compete in the 2016 Summer Olympics after talking to Ray Lewis. Phelps is from Baltimore. So I guess life goes on in such a positive way. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.